Have you ever heard of a discovery so powerful it could both save lives and, tragically, take the life of its own creator? This is the story of Marie Curie, a name synonymous with genius, perseverance, and the double-edged sword of scientific breakthrough. She wasn't just a scientist, she was a revolutionary who shattered glass ceilings and unlocked the secrets of the atom, changing our world forever. But this incredible power came at a devastating cost. Born Maria Skłodowska in Poland, a country under Russian rule, young Marie's thirst for knowledge was unquenchable. But in the late 19th century, higher education for women in her homeland was forbidden. Can you imagine being told you couldn't learn simply because of your gender? Marie didn't accept that. She worked as a governess, saving every penny, and secretly attended the Flying University, an underground educational network. Her dream was to study at the Sorbonne in Paris, the epicenter of the scientific world. In 1891, with her sister's help, she finally made it to Paris. Life was tough. She lived in a drafty attic, often surviving on little more than bread and tea, sometimes fainting from hunger. But her spirit was fueled by a passion for science. It was here she met a fellow scientist, a quiet and brilliant man named Pierre Curie. Their shared love for discovery blossomed into a partnership in both life and the laboratory. They were a scientific power couple before the term even existed. Their focus turned to a mysterious phenomenon recently discovered by Henri Becquerel, rays emanating from uranium. While other scientists saw it as a minor curiosity, Marie sensed something monumental. She began testing various minerals, and her meticulous work led to a startling conclusion. The amount of radiation wasn't dependent on the chemical compound, but on the amount of uranium itself. This suggested the rays came from within the atoms. This was a groundbreaking idea that flew in the face of the long-held belief that atoms were indivisible and unchanging. But she found something even more baffling. A mineral called pitchblende was far more radioactive than could be explained by its uranium content alone. What was causing this? Marie hypothesized there must be another, unknown element hidden within it, one that was incredibly radioactive. Pierre, recognizing the importance of her work, put his own research aside to join her quest. What followed was one of the most arduous tasks in scientific history. In a leaky, poorly ventilated shed, they began the backbreaking work of isolating this mysterious element. They processed literally tons of pitchblende, or boiling it in huge vats, stirring with heavy iron rods, painstakingly separating the chemical components. It was grueling, physical labor, performed with rudimentary equipment and, crucially, no protection from the strange new forces they were unleashing. After 4 years of relentless effort, their persistence paid off. In 1898, they announced the discovery of not one, but 2 new elements. The first they named polonium, in honor of Marie's beloved, oppressed homeland. The second, a million times more radioactive than uranium, they named radium, from the Latin word for ray. They had found the glowing heart of the atom. For these discoveries, Marie Curie, alongside Pierre and Henri Becquerel, was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1903. She became the first woman in history to receive a Nobel Prize. The world was captivated by radium. Its eerie glow seemed magical. It was hailed as a miracle cure, and people put it in everything: toothpaste, cosmetics, even water, believing it had health-giving properties. The Curies, however, were true scientists. They chose not to patent their radium isolation process. They believed their discovery belonged to humanity and should be used freely for scientific and medical advancement. This noble decision ensured radium could be studied and used to treat cancer. But it also meant they remained relatively poor, while others grew rich from their work. Then, in 1906, tragedy struck. Pierre was killed in a street accident, leaving Marie devastated and alone with 2 young daughters. The scientific community, still steeped in prejudice, expected her to fade into obscurity. Instead, she did the unthinkable. She took over Pierre's professorship at the Sorbonne, becoming its first female professor. She poured her grief into her work, determined to honor Pierre's legacy and continue their mission. She successfully isolated pure radium metal and, in 1911, was awarded a second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry. This made her the first person, man or woman, to ever win Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields. It's a record of distinction that remains held by only a handful of people to this day. She had proven, beyond any doubt, that she was a scientific force in her own right. When World War I erupted, Marie Curie didn't retreat to the safety of her lab. She saw a way her science could save lives on the battlefield. She knew that X-rays could help surgeons locate bullets and shrapnel in wounded soldiers. But X-ray machines were confined to city hospitals. So, she developed mobile radiography units. She equipped trucks with X-ray equipment and power generators, creating what became known as Petites Curies, or Little Curies. She trained 150 women as radiological assistants and drove to the front lines herself, often under dangerous conditions, to operate the machines. It's estimated that her mobile X-ray units helped treat over 1 million wounded soldiers. Marie Curie, the brilliant theoretician, had become a frontline lifesaver, applying her abstract discovery in the most practical and humane way imaginable. But throughout her entire career, from that drafty shed to the battlefields of France, Marie was constantly exposed to intense radiation. She carried test tubes of radium in her pocket, fascinated by their soft glow. She stored it on her nightstand. Her notebooks from the 1890s are still so radioactive today that they have to be stored in light-lined boxes, and can only be handled by people wearing protective clothing. In her time, no one understood the deadly long-term effects of radiation exposure. This constant, intimate contact with the very elements she discovered began to take its toll. Her health steadily declined. She suffered from chronic pain, fatigue, and failing eyesight from cataracts. For years, she hid the extent of her suffering, refusing to admit that her children, as she sometimes called her elements, could be harming her. Finally, in 1934, at the age of 66, Marie Curie died from aplastic anemia, a blood disease that is a known consequence of prolonged radiation exposure. The pioneer of radioactivity was ultimately a victim of it. There is a profound and tragic irony in her story. The source of her fame, her 2 Nobel Prizes, and her immense contribution to medicine was also the instrument of her death. Marie Curie's legacy is almost impossible to overstate. Her work not only revolutionized physics and chemistry, but also laid the foundation for nuclear energy and, most importantly, for modern cancer treatment through radiotherapy. She was a wife, a mother, a war hero, and a scientific titan who triumphed over poverty, xenophobia, and sexism. Her life is a powerful testament to the human spirit, its capacity for discovery, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge, even when that knowledge comes at the ultimate price. Her story reminds us that every great leap forward comes with risks, and the path of a pioneer is often fraught with unknown dangers. Marie Curie walked that path fearlessly, and the light she brought to the world continues to shine brightly, long after her own was tragically extinguished. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the life of a true legend. If you found this story as inspiring as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe for more stories of incredible people, and share this video with someone who needs a dose of inspiration. See you in the next one.